Hello everyone, here we are, good to be back. We're going to get going with 1 Kings chapter 4. And if you remember, we are dealing with Solomon now on the throne and the things that he has got to say about what's going on. Okay, so here we go. So King Solomon ruled over all Israel, and these were his chief officials: Azariah, son of Zadok, the priest; Ahillereph and Ahijah, son of Shisha, secretaries; Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, recorder; Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, commander-in-chief; Zadok and Abiathar, priests; Azariah, son of Nathan, in charge of the district governors; Zabud, son of Nathan, a priest and advisor to the king. Now, I want to mention one thing. When we hear names like Abiathar, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same Abiathar from before. Okay, I don't remember what happened to Abiathar, but I remember that he followed Absalom. And I just don't remember right now what happened to him, but I don't think it's the same Abiathar. Could be, but I don't know. All right. Ahishar, palace administrator; Adoniram, son of Abda, in charge of forced labor. Solomon had 12 district governors over all Israel who supplied provisions for the king and the royal household. Each one had to provide supplies for 1 month in the year. These are their names: Ben-Hur, Ben-Hur, in Makaz, Shalbim, Beth-Shemesh, and Elon Bethhanan; Ben-Hesed in Arubath, Sokah, and all the land of Hepher were his. So these were 12 district governors over all of Israel who supplied provisions for the king and the royal household. Each one had to provide supplies for 1 month in the year. So I'm going to start again. Ben-Hur in the hill country of Ephraim, that's who he was the governor of. Ben-Dekur in Mikaz, Shalbim, Beth-Shemesh, and Elon Bethanan; Ben-Hesed in Araboth, in parentheses, Sokah, and all the land of Hepher were his; Ben-Abinadab in Naphoth Dor, he was married to Taphath, daughter of Solomon; Bana, son of Ahilud, in Tanakh and Megiddo, and in all of Beth-Shan next to Zarathan below Jezreel, from Beth-Shan to Abel-Meholah across to Jokmeam; Ben-Geber in Ramoth Gilead, the settlements of Jair, son of Manasseh, in Gilead were his, this is in parentheses, as well as the region of Argob in Bashan, and its 60 large walled cities with bronze gate bars, and that was also in parentheses. Ahinadab, son of Edo, in Mahanaim; Ahimaaz in Naphtali, he had married Basemath, daughter of Solomon; Bana, son of Hushai, in Asher and in Aloth. You know, that's funny, I'm thinking of someone I know whose last name is Hushan, and I'm thinking now she must be Jewish, and I never thought about that. Bana, son of Hushai, in Asher and in Aloth; Jehoshaphat, son of Paruah, in Issachar; Shimei, son of Elah, in Benjamin. Okay, once again, this is not the Shimei that David had told Solomon to have put to death. Okay, so you're just hearing some repeats of some common names, but they're not the people that we heard about. Jehoshaphat, son of Paruah, in Issachar, so that's the second Jehoshaphat that is a governor, because if I remember correctly, or no, Jehoshaphat was also the recorder. Okay, so this is another Jehoshaphat, son of Paruah, in Issachar, because the other one was Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud. All right, Shimei, son of Elah; Geber, son of Uri, in Gilead, in parentheses, the country of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the country of Og, king of Bashan; He was the only governor over the district. The people of Judah and Israel were as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They ate, they drank, and they were happy. And Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines, as far as the border of Egypt. These countries brought tribute and were Solomon's subjects all his life. Solomon's daily provisions were 30 cores of the finest flour and 60 cores of meal. Let's see what a core equals. Hold on 1 second. Core equals how much? A biblical core says 220 dry liters, it looks like. Convert cores biblical to dry liters. Looks like 220 dry liters. All right. 30 cores of the finest flour and 60 cores of meal, 10 head of stall-fed cattle, 20 of pasture-fed cattle, and 100 sheep and goats, as well as deer, gazelles, roebucks, and choice fowl. That was for one day, okay, one day. For he ruled over all the kingdoms west of the Euphrates River, from Tifsah to Gaza, and had peace on all sides. During Solomon's lifetime, Judah and Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, lived in safety, everyone under their own vine and under their own fig tree. Solomon had 4,000 stalls for chariot horses and 12,000 horses. The district governors, each in his month, supplied provisions for King Solomon and all who came to the king's table. They saw to it that nothing was lacking. They also brought to the proper place their quotas of barley and straw for the chariot horses and other horses. So they supplied everything. One governor every month supplied everything that Solomon's household needed for that month. God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. He was wiser than anyone else, including Ethan the Ezrahite. Ethan, the Ezrahite, wiser than Heman, wiser than Heman, Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahal, and his fame spread to all the surrounding nations. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. And we're going to read some of his proverbs for sure, if not all 300 of them, because I think there's 24 chapters in Proverbs. He spoke about plant life, from the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of walls. He also spoke about animals and birds, reptiles and fish. From all nations, people came to listen to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. Now, it's funny, the name hyssop, it says from the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop, Hyssop. I think that's what my mother's maiden name comes from. Her maiden name is Hislop, Hislop, which is a more modern spelling, but I've always wondered if it comes from hyssop. All right, so everybody came to listen to his wisdom. Chapter 5. When Hiram, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent his envoys to Solomon because he'd always been on friendly terms with David. Solomon sent back his message to Hiram. You know that because of the wars waged against my father David from all sides, he could not build a temple for the name of the Lord his God until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there's no adversary or disaster. I intend, therefore, to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David when he said, your son, whom I will put on the throne in your place, will build the temple for my name. So give orders that cedars of Lebanon be cut for me. My men will work with yours, and I'll pay you for your men, whatever wages you set. You know that we have no one so skilled in felling timber as the Sidonians. When Hiram heard Solomon's message, he was greatly pleased and said, "Praise be the Lord today, for he has given David a wise son to rule over this great nation." So Hiram sent word to Solomon, "I've received the message you sent me and will do all you want in providing the cedar and the juniper logs. My men will haul them down from Lebanon to the Mediterranean Sea, and I will float them as rafts by sea to the place you specify. There I'll separate them and you can take them away, and you are to grant my wish by providing food for my royal household." In this way, Hiram kept Solomon supplied with all the cedar and juniper logs he wanted. Can you imagine how fragrant that was? Those trees were, cedar and juniper. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 cores of wheat as food for his household, in addition to 20,000 baths of pressed olive oil. B-A-T-H, baths of olive oil. Solomon continued to do this for Hiram year after year. The Lord gave Solomon wisdom, just as he'd promised him. There were peaceful relations between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. All right, let's just look really quick and see what a bath is equal to, and if it literally is a bathtub. Let's see what it is. Bath equals how much? Biblically. Says a bath is usually 30 gallons. Okay. Using the standard of a bath unit, which has been established to be about 22 liters, 1 seah, S-E-A-H, and we've heard that term before, would equal about 7.3 liters, or 7.3 dm, whatever that is. The Jewish Study Bible estimates the biblical seah at 7.7 liters, so 2 gallons. All right, so a bath unit is 22 liters, which must be like 6, well, if 2 gallons is 7, maybe 6 gallons? I don't know. All right, so let's pick it up there. 20,000 cores in addition to 20,000 baths of pressed olive oil. Wow. Solomon continued to do this for Hiram year after year. The Lord gave Solomon wisdom just as he'd promised him. There were peaceful relations between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. King Solomon conscripted laborers from all Israel, 30,000 men. He sent them off to Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 a month, so that they spent 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. So they did like this revolving thing. Adoniram was in charge of the forced labor. Solomon had 70,000 carriers and 80,000 stonecutters in the hills, as well as 3,300 foremen who supervised the project and directed the workers. At the king's command, they removed from the quarry large blocks of high-grade stone to provide a foundation of dressed stone for the temple. The craftsmen of Solomon and Hiram and workers from Byblos, B-Y-B-L-O-S, cut and prepared the timber and stone for the building of the temple. Doesn't Byblos sound Greek? Let's look that up really quickly. Byblos. One of the oldest Egyptian words for an ocean-going boat was Byblos ship. So I'm sorry, it must have been Egyptian. Hold on. It's an ancient Phoenician port city of Gebal, G-E-B-L, B-A-L, G-E-B-A-L, called Byblos by the Greeks, on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea in what is today Lebanon. Byblos is among the cities listed as candidates for the distinction of oldest city in the world, as it has been continuously inhabited for over 7,000 years. Good Lord Almighty. All right, so let's go here. Let's go to 6. In the 480th year after the Israelites came out of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, Z-I-V, the 2nd month, he began to build the temple of the Lord. The temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 60 cubits long, 20 wide, and 30 high. The portico at the front of the main hall of the temple extended the width of the temple, that is 20 cubits, and projected 10 cubits from the front of the temple. He made narrow windows high up in the temple walls. Against the walls of the main hall and inner sanctuary, he built a structure around the building in which there were side rooms. And I'm going to put pictures up, okay, on my feed so you'll be able to see. The lowest floor was 5 cubits wide, and the middle floor 6 cubits, and the 3rd floor 7. He made offset ledges around the outside of the temple so that nothing would be inserted into the temple walls. I wonder if that has to do with war, so that nothing would be inserted into the temple walls. In building the temple, only blocks dressed at the quarry were used, and no hammer, chisel, or any other iron tool was heard at the temple site while it was being built. The entrance to the lowest floor was on the south side of the temple. A stairway led up to the middle level, and from there to the third. So he built the temple and completed it, roofing it with beams and cedar planks, and he built the side rooms all along the temple. The height of each was 5 cubits, and they were attached to the temple by beams of cedar. The word of the Lord came to Solomon. As for this temple you are building, if you follow my decrees, observe my laws, and keep all my commands and obey them, I will fulfill through you the promise I gave to David, your father, and I will live among the Israelites and will not abandon my people Israel. So Solomon built the temple and completed it. He lined its interior walls with cedar boards, paneling them from the floor of the temple to the ceiling, and covered the floor of the temple with planks of juniper. So it was a hardwood floor made out of juniper. He partitioned off 20 cubits at the rear of the temple with cedar boards from floor to ceiling to form within the temple an inner sanctuary, the most holy place, which we saw in the tents, the tabernacle. The most holy place was where Moses' word sat in the Ark of the Covenant with the 2 cherubim in gold with their feathers, their wings touching. Okay. The main hall in front of this room was 40 cubits long. The inside of the temple was cedar carved with gourds and open flowers. Everything was cedar. No stone was to be seen. Can you imagine how fragrant that was? He prepared the inner sanctuary within the temple to set the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord there. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 wide, 20 high. He overlaid the inside with pure gold, and he also overlaid the altar of cedar. Solomon covered the inside of the temple with pure gold, and he extended gold chains across the front of the inner sanctuary, which was overlaid with gold. So he overlaid the whole interior with gold. He also overlaid with gold the altar that belonged to the inner sanctuary. So this is a building now. It's set up like the temple was, like the tent, the tent of meeting that had the different sections going all the way into the most holy place. This is now a building, no longer a tent. He also overlaid with gold the altar that belonged to the inner sanctuary. For the inner sanctuary, he made a pair of cherubim out of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. One wing of the first cherub was 5 cubits long, the other wing 5 cubits, 10 cubits from wingtip to wingtip. The second cherub also measured 10 cubits, for the 2 cherubim were identical in size and shape. The height of each cherub was 10 cubits. He placed the cherubim inside the innermost room of the temple with their wings spread out. The wing of one cherub touched one wall, while the wing of the other touched the other wall, and their wings touched each other in the middle of the room. He overlaid the cherubim with gold. Can you imagine how breathtaking that would be to walk in and see 2 cherubim with their wings stretched out, touching each other in the middle of the room? Like, you know, when you go into a museum and they set up these exhibits that are so amazing and so beautiful, that's sort of what we're seeing here, that same, oh my gosh, that same feeling. On the walls all around the temple, in both the inner and outer rooms, he carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. He also covered the floors of both the inner and outer rooms of the temple with gold. So the floors were gold. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, he made doors out of olive wood that were on 1/5 of the width of the sanctuary. And on the 2 olive wood doors, he carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid the cherubim and palm trees with hammered gold. In the same way, for the entrance to the main hall, he made door frames out of olive wood that were 1/4 of the width of the hall. He also made 2 doors out of juniper wood, each having 2 leaves that turned in sockets. He carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers on them, and overlaid them with gold hammered evenly over the carvings. And he built the inner courtyard of 3 courses of dressed stone and 1 course of trimmed cedar beams. The foundation of the temple of the Lord was laid in the 4th year, in the month of Ziv. In the 11th year, in the month of Bul, B-U-L, the 8th month, the temple was finished in all its details according to its specifications. He had spent 7 years building it. So the foundation was in the 4th year. I guess they had to prepare all the woods and all the stone and everything. And 7 years later, in the 11th year, it was finished in all its details according to its specification. I'm going to put up pictures that I find of the temple inside and out, and the cherubim with their wings touching. And let's take a look at that. I love you guys very much. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm glad to be here, and we'll pick it up then. Love you. Good night.